Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I am MjxR and today I'm checking out the MjxR X929H from gearbest.com. Now the weather is absolutely shocking here and it's to be expected. It's becoming winter and it's also dark at the back of 3 PM as well. So I thought it was time to check out one of these indoor nano quadcopters, and that's what this is. It's absolutely tiny. It's quite a strange looking thing, but I like it. It looks a little bit porky here. This is the non-camera version. Now I do hopefully have the FPV version on the way. So this is just for practicing indoors, this one. We've got an LED up the front here instead of a camera. We've got some LEDs underneath here as well, which is quite nice. It's got an integrated 250 milliamp one cell battery, so you can't remove the battery on this one. We've got a charging port on the back here, which is just a USB 2 micro, which I quite like, and we've got an on and off switch here as well. So very straightforward there. We also get in the package some prop protectors, and I really like these. Just look at this. They just slot on under here. No bother, no screws. Just goes on very easily, clips on, clips off. Really like it. And that is good if you're a beginner. So it's going to be a good beginner quadcopter, this one. We're also given a USB 2 micro lead as well. And this is a really long lead. So you can just plug that into your computer or USB outlet and that will charge it up. Shouldn't take long to charge there with such a small battery, probably 20 to 30 minutes. So we also are given 6 spare props as well, which is really good because, you know, it's aimed at beginners. We're probably going to be breaking some propellers. So we've got the classic MjxR transmitter, and check this out. Spring-loaded sticks. This is a altitude hold model, so I'll have to check out how well that's going to work indoors, but let's check out the transmitter. Oh no! A screw. We don't have any screws on here to get the prop protectors on, but a screw to get your batteries in. I really dislike this. You know, it's the worst thing if it's like Christmas Day or a birthday and you want to get this thing going. You can't because you don't have a screwdriver on you. They don't include it in the package. Oh, just a small thing, but there you go. So 3 AAA batteries in the back there. And let's turn it on. I've got them in there. Let's turn on the quadcopter. Now for some reason it seems to take quite a while for it to bind. I'm not sure why that is. Let's see if we have to lift the throttle up and down. Oh look, it doesn't bind straight away. It's almost like it's searching, so I'll just leave that going. There we go, finally did it. So let's check out the controls here. So it's a mode 2 only, sadly. There's no way to change it to mode 1. I always think that's a bit of a shame. You could take advantage of that, having these spring-loaded sticks, but there you go. It's stuck in mode 2. So we've got a 3D flip button there. And then on this one here, we have got the LEDs on and off on a short press. So you can see it there. It doesn't turn off that main LED on the front there. They probably should have incorporated that. And then a long press turns it into headless mode. I don't know if that's going to work here, but there you go, headless mode. And then when you're in headless mode, a short press is 1 key return. If you want your quadcopter to return in a 1 QA, just do not use that function. So out of 1 key return there, and then hold it down, and then that should get us back into the normal flying mode. So we also have got different rates on this one as well. So you see you've got a double beep there and a single beep, so just 2 rates, low and high. I'll have to check how responsive those rates are. So we've got trims here for all the other axes, and then this one here is a start button. So if you press it, propellers start going, and then if you press it again, they don't stop going. I think you have to come down on the throttle. Yeah, there you go. So come down on throttle. It'd been nice if that would have started and stopped it, but no, to come down on the throttle there, but it's a small thing, I guess. No function on this one, so pretty straightforward functions on this quadcopter. So let's go and fly it and see how we get on with that altitude hold and flying it indoors. So I have got the quadcopter in the low rate. I've also got the LEDs on, so let's press the arming button and go for a takeoff. So I'm going to lift the throttle up here. So it takes a little bit more throttle to get the quadcopter in the air, which is normal for these altitude hold quadcopters, but usually it settles out. So I'm just going to adjust it here. And I can already see that the low rate is very docile. which is fine. But for me, I like a little bit more rate. So I'm going to press this button in. And there we go. So I would say that the first rate is a very low rate. And the second rate is a medium rate. So let's see if that LED button works. So a short press and the LEDs go off. Just look at that spotlight on the front of it. It's so bright. I'm impressed with that. Let's turn the LEDs back on. So the altitude hold is working well. You just have to get it off the ground and let it settle down a little bit. And then it works fine. So let's try a flip. So I've got a fairly good altitude on there. Let's see what happens. So press the flip button and it does a forward flip and it loses a little bit of height and then it sort of recovers itself. So you can only do a forward flip on this one. Let's try that again. Press the button. It gains height, does a forward flip and then levels back out. So that's really nice. And it's flying indoors really nicely here, so that is good to see. Usually it's just Cheerson that have cracked that, but it seems like MjxR have now cracked it also. It is flying perfect. In fact, I can fly it with just one hand here if I'm careful. That is really nice. Look at that. So I'm flying in mode 2 here and it's fairly easy. So I'm a native mode 1 flyer normally, but this is really easy to fly. So the next question is, do I dare to go into headless mode? Because it's not usually a mode that I like to fly in. I don't think it's good for beginners. It's really better for the more experienced flyers. If you want to mess around with it, that is my opinion. But you long press this button here until the lights start flashing, and then we are in headless mode. So forward is always forward, so if I tilt the quadcopter to the side, forward should still be that way, and right and left, etc. And it is. But that really confuses me as a mode, so I'm going to long press out of that if I can. Let's get some height on. So long press out of that, and then we're back into the normal flying mode. I really find it confusing, headless mode, because it goes against everything that I learned flying these quadcopters and planes as well, so it's not one I recommend. It's not one I like to fly in. This is fantastic for flying indoors. I just love that bright light at the front there. It's really cool. This one's good for practicing nose-in flying, so I'm not an experienced mode 2 flyer. So the more nose-in practice I get, the better. That is where the quadcopter is facing towards you. So I haven't got the prop protectors on here because you're going to get a slightly longer flight time with that. But if you are flying indoors and you are a novice, then it's good to put those prop protectors on, because if you've got plain walls like this, if you smack into the walls, it's going to put some black marks on the walls there. So that could be quite annoying. I'm just flying this around here and it's performing really nicely. This is a really good indoor fly, this one. And the altitude working well. Look at that. So, got all hands off the throttle there. So it does deviate. And that is because there's a barometer on board there and it's measuring the air pressure around it. And it can only sort of guesstimate the height, really. So altitude hold does usually work better for outdoors because you can get more height on, and then it doesn't matter when the altitude deviates. But it looks like we're getting an LVC there. The lights are flashing. So not the longest of flight time, but not terrible either, because it's a very small battery. I want to see what happens if we take it to the extreme. So if I just leave it going, because sometimes these quadcopters land themselves. And it has done there, and it stopped the propellers, so that is pretty impressive. So there you go, that is my review of the MjxR X929H. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.